So, John, we are live here on YouTube, and I think you have arranged a special guest for us. Normally, we don't do guests, but over the weekend, I know you talked to a friend.
Yep.
And well, why don't you just sort of set the table for what's about to happen and how we got here?
Yeah. Talk this instant whole thing with Raja and Stu and all the guys, Rampage Jackson, and all this garbage that goes with it. I'm not talking about what Raja did. I'm talking about the garbage of the racism bullshit. People claiming that just because you have a black and a white person, you claim racism on either side. If you want to claim racism, you claim the white guys are racist against the blacks. And if you want to claim the other side, you claim the red blacks are, it's just bullshit. It's Neanderthal thinking, and I hate it. And so Godfather, my dear friend, called me and said, "Hey, AJ's getting a really bad deal in this, lost his job and all that stuff." What he said, "Hey, I think it's on video. We'll get you a receipt." The camera was rolling. Apparently he was in character. And I've been around a long time in this business. I've heard this, we're going to get a receipt. Receipt does not give you the green light for assault. Receipt is special. And he was with the camera there. He was in character. It's certainly what it appears. So Godfather told me this. I reached out to AJ, and AJ, I talked to him, and I felt so bad for him. He said, "My career's probably over." He said, "But I want at least, my name is being ruined because of this." And he said, "I lost my job." And then I said, "Well, we'd like to discuss this on something Wrestle." He goes, "Can I give you a statement?" So then after talking to both you and our stud muffin, Dave Silva, I thought this would be great just to get him on and let him tell his side of the story. People are getting canceled, and some unjustifiably so. And I think that's the case here. And so was the background for us getting AJ on the show.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we've got a special guest with us. Let's welcome AJ to Something to Wrestle. AJ, what's going on, man? How are you?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are you doing? I'm doing okay. But how are y'all?
So AJ, tell us the fallout from it. There's been speculation. Did you lose your job? What all has happened with you?
Okay. When it comes to my shoot day job, it wasn't because obviously there's no conviction here, right? On my behalf, there's no crime that I actually committed. It was more so me bringing bad attention, right? They say we saw this thing on TMZ about you being an accessory to an attempted murder, and we just can't have that traffic come our way. So you're not technically fired, but we're not really asking you to come back to work until this dissipates. And when I went on air with CT Fletcher, that is, before I get to that, I'd like to apologize, if that's okay. First and foremost, I want to apologize to the fans for the use of my language. Very untasteful, very unprofessional with what I said, but I'd like to address why I said what I said. I've gotten a lot of death threats. I've gotten a lot of the N-word on my social platforms, calling me an N-word myself and calling me an N-lover. For those that are unaware, I am both black and white. I'm adopted into a Samoan family. That's the culture that I come from. So there's a lot of misinformation out there, and I just wanted to address that as to why I quote unquote crashed out on CT Fletcher's podcast. As you stated before, Mr. Layfield, that I said, my wrestling career could potentially be over. This might be it. I may or may not ever wrestle again because of this, but that's not the point here. And that is, I'm not even concerned about that. What I'm concerned about is my name being dragged through the mud. And I'm not cutting a promo. I'm very passionate, and I'm very passionate about the things that I speak on. For those that think I'm just cutting promos, Stu is a friend of mine. Stu's not only a friend of mine in the wrestling world. Stu's one of our cowboys over at the Double Six Ranch. I've been up and down the roads with Stu. I've been at horse auctions with Stu. This goes a lot deeper than this personification that you see from both him and I on screen or on camera. To to this individual, I even hate to mention his name because I don't want to make him famous. But Doug goes on a social platform which reaches world attention, global attention, and stating that I set up Stu because I had heat with Stu. If people actually watch what took place that evening, you will see from Raja pulling up to the venue to me getting him authorization to come into the locker room. This wasn't just a pop-up sort of deal, and this damn sure wasn't pre-planned. Henceforth, it's impossible to even fathom the possibility that I set up Stu. It's not how this went down. So to Doug, you know what? I don't appreciate what you did there. I understand what you were doing. You went into business for yourself. You thought that by burying me, that would help put you over. And it did momentarily, until people are able to see that not only are you the shits and don't know how to work, you're fresh in this business. And you really don't understand this business. Also, I have to commend you. Doug Mallow, I commend you on the fact that you did take action when it was necessary. For that, yes, I give you your flowers. But for all the other crap, you really need to smarten up because you don't know what you're talking about.
So, but you're biracial, and so because of that, you've been called racist by both sides.
I've gotten it on both sides. I am
that's pretty remarkable.
Or I'm an in lover. Like, what?
That's just what I was talking about before you got on air. I don't know if you saw it. I just hate this racism stuff that comes in. It gets into any conversation. You know, eventually somebody gets called Hitler somewhere in a thread that goes deep enough. You know, it's just the vitriol that comes from a bunch of idiots that shouldn't have a platform, and they do because they've able to sign up for X or Twitter or whatever you call it now. The comment you made itself, the receipt.
Yes,
I know a lot's been made with this. I've been this press minister for 30 something years. I've heard that my whole life. It's never a green. And you were saying it in character. I will let you put in your own words the circumstances around it. I'll let you discuss that. But you know, you're saying it was in character. I'm saying even if it wasn't, it's not a green light for assault.
Absolutely not.
A lot of times you tell a guy, "Oh, you can get your receipt back out there." It's just a passing phrase. I've heard that in the locker room forever. It's not a green light for an assault. It's just something that's said. But you go ahead and please, I don't want to put words in your mouth. You bring up the situation.
Yes, sir. Well, unfortunately, when I did elaborate on this use of the phrase getting your receipt, it was then clipped, edited, and used against me. Much like the law, anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. Right. And this is an issue in which a crime has been committed. Right. So, yes, I did tell Raja. Well, firstly, I asked Raja, do you remember what a receipt is? Once he affirmed that he remembered what a receipt was, because I have explained this to him before, and he should, at the mere least, understand how to pull your punch. How do I know that Raja knows how to pull a punch? Is because I come from the MMA world. Raja was a part of my fight team. I've sparred with Raja several times. I know that he knows how to pull a damn punch, right? That was the insinuation there. One punch, people say I crashed out on CT Fletcher's podcast whenever I punched myself. No, I'm giving you a demonstration that, hello, it's just a little get back, right, so to speak, for what transpired. Was it my call to make Raja a part of a storyline? No, I don't have that power. I am not a promoter to debunk a lot of the rumors out there. I'm not a promoter. I'm not an owner of this company. I was talent, right? So I'm seeing this freaking camera in my face. I had no clue that this thing was being live streamed, right? We did a pre-taping at a gym prior to that. And that's how this whole thing came about. Rampage was like, hey, you know, I see you doing your thing out there, but you could be getting so much of a following if you just hop on this live stream thing. Kick, I think it's called. Kick, yeah. and that'll help you get your following. You know, you and Raja collaborate. It'll help build both of y'all up. Well, Raja came up with the idea, well, hey, bro, why don't I show up to one of these wrestling events, freaking live stream record your match, and all the followers that I get, they'll be able to see you, get to know who you are. And I'm thinking, this is fucking awesome. Excuse my language. This is awesome. Like, we could have a cross collaboration here from the MMA world and the professional wrestling world. Not on a very big scale, but at least it would be an introduction to some form of a cross collaboration on the independent level, which, to my knowledge, has not happened before. So me bringing Raja into the locker room was not to be a part of some storyline. It was to introduce him to the sole proprietor, the owner, and promoter of Knox Pro. That's all that was. That's the only reason he was back there, right? People, again, I didn't know this thing was being live streamed. So to me, I'm thinking, all right, this is all being recorded. Hell, 90% of this shit's going to get edited out anyways. What led up to me telling Raja to get his receipt would be edited out whenever you're actually working to build the story. That's all I was doing. I was pushing this story because it was agreed upon by both parties that you'll get your redemption in my match. All right, cool. My assumption, I brought Raja in. This happened to, with the can, that happened to my buddy. All right, I guess I'm on Raja's side in this. And Stu, whoever he brings into the story, that's how we'll work this thing. So I'm like, hey, remember what a receipt is? Yeah, all right, well, go get it. You know, it's just one punch. Ain't going to hurt nobody, shouldn't hurt nobody. Raja took it upon himself to go far, far beyond what he was told. This has nothing to do with me. Yes, did I do a lot of bitching and moaning whenever I lost? Yeah, I did. And you know what? I had to sit back and realize this ain't about me. Someone got severely hurt that night. A lot of lives were impacted that night, and I don't think people actually understand the severity of this thing. You are accusing me of being an accessory to an attempted murder. Do you not realize how serious of an accusation that really is? Do you not realize how that impacts my life? Not as AJ Mana, the character. Andre Joel Hudson, the man. Do you not realize what you've done? Doug Mallow, you want to be famous? Burying someone and pinning some crap on them like this ain't the way to do it, brother. It just ain't the way to do it. And I mean, I can only harp on this so many times before it's just redundant. If people out there are such idiots that they don't see what is happening here. I mean, David Otunga, my God, bless that man. I don't know if y'all saw David Otunga's take on it. David Otunga is correct me if I'm wrong, he's a Harvard grad. He is both a professional wrestler and a lawyer. Harvard graduate, explains in full detail on the legal perspective about this whole thing, absolving me of having committed or been an accessory to some crime. Dave's an excellent guy.
Dave is a terrific human being. I love David Otunga. Very, very smart guy. And you are correct. Harvard educated lawyer, somehow ended up in professional wrestling as well. And thank goodness he did, because he's just a good dude. But he's also a thinker. And you don't just have a lawyer here. You've got a Harvard educated lawyer here that is absolved.
That is not an easy fleet.
That's not anything. I actually did get on Harvard ground one time when Jesse Ventura was a fellow there, but they didn't let me stay long. But that's pretty good to have. You don't get much better than that.
Yeah. AJ, have you spoken to Stu?
I have not. I actually wanted to touch on that. And this is what hurts the most is the night all that went down, and I don't even think anyone realizes that the first one to call Raja was myself. When he replies, "My bad, Andre," I'm Andre. That's why I'm called AJ. I'm like, what the fuck were you thinking? Who told you to do this shit? Who the hell said double leg and punch and all this crap? Who told you to do this? To my understanding, a fucking takedown, excuse my language, a takedown wasn't even supposed to be a thing in this. It was supposed to be one punch. That's literally it. A punch, dude. Who the hell told you to do this? And the only reason I called him is because the promoter said, get him back here. Get his ass back here. Get Raja, call him, get him back here. I called him. My bad. I'll call you later. Click. That's that. I go to the hospital. After that, in fact, I called over to our ranch boss. Hey, someone get a hold of Contessa. Please tell her to get here. And you too. Please get down. Everybody get down here. Well, how bad is it? It's fucking bad. He's flatlined. Yeah, it's bad. Get here. Within an hour and a half, 2 hours, they were there. I was there, the hospital, while everyone's blaming me because of some freaking video that Doug decided to clip out of a stream, put it in a freaking group chat and say, I'm done. Now everyone's like, well, explain this, AJ. Well, I was working the story. That's literally what I was doing. Working a freaking storyline. A work that went totally off the rails. Now you're going to take that and try and bury me to put yourself over? I mean, come on. So freaking I'm then strongly suggested to me that it's probably best that you don't be here because things are tense right now, so you should probably go home. And I did. Doug not only is not a friend of Stu's, in that entire week that Stu was in the hospital, do you think he ever showed up to the hospital? You think he ever paid a visit? No, he got his clout. That's what he got, clout. TMZ shows up to the gym where I used to train kids. I had a collegiate wrestling program.
Hey, AJ, I don't mean to cut you off, but what day did you stop by to see Stu?
The night, literally within the hour after that all transpired, I jetted right over the hospital. Folks were still hanging around. I'm packing my shit like I'm going to the hospital, dude. I went straight there.
Are you in any communication with his family at all? I know you said you haven't spoken with
I've
Stu.
reached out, haven't got an answer. And from from Stu's perspective, I understand. I'm sure everybody and their mama's reaching out, trying to get a hold of him. I did speak with our ranch boss, and he says, you know what? When this thing blows over, maybe you and Stu should just kind of have a sit down and talk about this. And I said, if he's willing to hear me out and not believe the shit that's being put out there, I'm there.
Doug Malo, if anybody isn't sure, is the fellow who I believe is the guy who pulled Raja off of.
He is. Yeah.
And Mr. Epic, a friend of the show, is with us here live, and he wants to know, AJ, where were you during the assault? So take us back to that moment when
you know what? Hey, and Doug, hey man to man. All right. Do you really think that if I had any clue, any inclination that this shit was gonna take place, that I wouldn't be there? I was outside. I didn't even know how this thing with Raja was being structured. After telling Raja to get his receipt, I'm thinking, hey, just like we always do, and tell me if I'm wrong, Doug. We all huddle up, especially when it's on the fly like that, off the cuff. It's like, all right, okay, huddle up real quick. What are we gonna do? All right, got it. Get out there and do it. None of that happened. You can see it on the video. None of this shit was actually planned properly. allegedly someone whispered in his ear and told him while he was sitting in the front row what to do. How the hell am I going to know what the hell's going on inside the building when I'm outside in our locker room in the fucking parking lot? I had just had a match. I had my match right before Stu's match. I can't just walk right back into the venue after having a match. You should know that. I still believe in kayfabe. Like I said, I didn't know this thing was being live streamed. I thought we were going to edit it later. Hello, kayfabe. No, I had no freaking clue this shit was happening. Where was I? Outside. How did I find out about it? One of the boys brought their cell phone and showed what had just happened. They showed it to me outside. That's whenever I went in there and seen him in the middle of the ring. I had no fucking clue this was happening.
So just to be clear, you're saying there's nothing to the reports that you and Stu didn't get along or you guys weren't friendly beforehand?
Absolutely, or
had you had
not.
Problems in the past?
No, that's all bullshit. And that's why I'm upset. A video or an interview that Doug did went viral. AJ, sure, you got your clout out of it, but come on, look what you started.
AJ, you mentioned about TMZ coming to where you had the children's wrestling at your gym. Go ahead and finish that story, please.
TMZ shows up to the gym where I had a fitness program, a wrestling program. My fitness program was more so for adults. Collegiate wrestling program for the kids. TMZ shows up to this gym, offers $500 to anyone that would talk shit about AJ Monaco. Who the fuck does this? And why? To continue to perpetuate bullshit, propaganda, and speculation?
Right.
Like, seriously.
So, AJ, now what is going on? I know with you, I mean, you are like the ultimate cancel object right now. You're the flavor, look, I've been a flavor the week before. Believe me, I understand it very well. When something happened once before, I was doing commentary outside of wrestling and somebody called me and said, "Hey, you might already answer this." I go, "No, how about I just don't show up?"
Yeah,
it pissed me off so bad, but that's not always an option. I wasn't getting paid or anything for the extra commentary, so it wasn't that big a deal. It just pissed me off that they asked me to answer something that was pretty much a storyline thing, and I just wasn't going to do it. But believe me, I've been canceled on and off or tried to, so I certainly understand it. What's the lay of the land right now with Knox Pro, with what's going on with all this stuff, and with you?
Quite frankly, I hadn't been in touch with Knox Pro ever since I was kicked off the feed when that video was posted in the feed with me telling Raja to get his receipt, and folks are playing stupid saying, "Well, AJ, explain this." What's there to explain? Everyone was there. We were all on the same page. You want to make me the scapegoat? Is that what it is? You want to make me your fall guy? So I got to explain what doesn't really need to be explained? Then you kick me off the feed? No, hadn't been in touch with them and don't very much care to. Why? Because silence to me is affirmation. If the world is talking shit about your boy, right? I'm supposed to be one of your boys. The world is burying one of your boys and you're silent, knowing full well you gave the green light, knowing full well I have no power in this regard, but you're silent. That's cowardly to me. I'm a lot of things, but a fucking coward I will never be. So yeah, whatever's going on there, don't care. As far as my career, like I said, this might be the end of the road for me, and that's fine because it's not about me. The important thing is Stu is okay. His family is okay. And it's a long road to recovery. We have to ensure as a community, we all come together as a community to help the actual issue here. And we can also then take this experience, learn from it, grow from it, and those to come after us should not make this mistake again. That's where I'm at with this whole thing.
Right. Well, AJ, thank you. Okay, Conrad, did you have anything to follow up with question-wise? I just, I wanted to give my whole thing was to give AJ a chance to tell his story in his words, because I think it's different than what has been put out there, and I buy it. I don't. Some people want to ride the fence. I don't. I'm not one of those guys. I buy what he's saying, and I think he's wrongly railroaded in this. Is my opinion. I believe he said something that we've said in the business for decades. So get your receipt. Yeah, that's.
I heard something. Sorry to cut you off, sir. I think it was Jim Cornette or some. Please don't quote me on this, but I've heard a lot of different podcasts, and so I try to look within myself and be like, all right, where did I mess up? What did I say wrong? How can I rectify this? I'm not the type of man that would not admit when they're wrong. I think that is the making of a man, is to be able to admit when you are wrong. So looking back, had I known Raja would go off the rails, you're damn right. I would have kept my fucking mouth shut had I known this would happen. But I had no way of knowing. I had no way to foresee the outcome of simply telling Raja to get a receipt. I had no way to foresee that Raja was live on stream saying, yeah, they want me to throw fake punches, but fuck that. It's all out there. Just watch the video in its entirety. Stop watching the 10-minute clips, 20-minute clips. It's over an hour long. Watch the whole thing, right?
Yeah, and AJ, hindsight's always 20/20. If we had a chance to go back, good Lord, we'd never make mistakes. And not that you made a mistake. I'm not saying you did. I'm saying that it's taken out of context and you're blamed for a lot of stuff. But AJ, I want to thank you for coming on and for telling your story, because I like I say, you're the cancel. You're the cancel treat of the week, and people are enjoying canceling you. And you got white guys calling you racist and black guys calling you racist. So you've done something. You've done something right, because you got everybody mad at you.
And like I told you yesterday, sir. I hate this is how we met, but
hey, that's okay. You came from a great recommendation of one of my best friends, and that's Godfather, and he's a good man. I love that guy, salt of the earth, and I'm glad that he connected us.
John, I know you're trying to wrap up. I hate to do it, but I do want to ask AJ, what do you think should happen to Raja? Like, what should the consequences be for what happened?
And that is what tears me up right now, is as I have expressed, Raja's a friend of mine. Stu's a friend of mine. I'm caught in the middle of some bullshit. Now, had I committed a crime, who's going to stick up for me? Who's going to vouch for me? Who's going to try and cover for me? Right? I am in no way, shape, nor form validating, excusing, or downplaying what Raja did, and I won't. For those that know me best, my phone's been blowing up. People trying to convince me to say certain shit, and when I wouldn't play ball, shit got harder. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not fucking playing ball. Like I said, a friend of mine got severely injured, damn near fatal. That's why we have laws. And may the full extent of the justice system be exercised. May justice be served. That is not for me to say. That is not for me to assert. I think that's something that's already understood. So let's utilize what we have within the justice system. Let the justice system do their job in bringing about that justice. What I think should happen to Raja is what I think everyone thinks should happen with Raja. He should answer for what he did. He should pay for what he did. How severe that may be, that's not for me to say. That's up to the law.
You mentioned earlier, and we sort of glossed over it, but you said you asked Raja something along the lines of, do you remember what a receipt was from before? We never really understood what before was. When were you doing pro wrestling training with Raja, or can you expand on that prior relationship?
Pulling back the curtain here. Raja has always known a few things when it comes to this industry, because Raja was there supporting me alongside Rampage since day one. Since I first debuted in professional wrestling, they learned very well. Raja specifically learned very quickly that this is a work, right? Raja understands terminology such as work, sell, receipt, because I've explained all those things to him. Some would suggest that, yeah, you probably shouldn't have exposed the business like that. But you know what? I've had conversations with Raja in the past. Hey, maybe you should get into pro wrestling, right? And there's a lot of MMA fighters that are smart to the business, right? So that's where that, in my opinion, that's where that extends from whenever I asked him if he remembered a receipt, because we didn't discuss what a receipt was in that video. I have previously expressed to Raja what a receipt was.
I'm worried about the way all this turns out. I hope it turns out the way you want it to. We know that people are trying independently to book Raja for appearances. Have any independent?
I'm sorry, Conrad. I think that's a bunch of malarkey. I don't think any promotion actually reached out to Raja to book him. I think people are just riding this wave and trying to just fucking get clickbait, quite frankly. I don't think anyone's trying to book him after this.
Has anyone tried to book you as a result of this?
Negatory. In fact, I've lost a lot of bookings because of this.
Do you think you'll continue to pursue pro wrestling, and what will ultimately make your decision for you?
If the opportunity presents itself, I'd be more than grateful. It would be a huge blessing. However, I'm not really banking on it, because people are saying I should be blacklisted. Pro wrestling is something I've wanted to do since I was 8 years old. That'll never go away. There's nothing that I will ever do in this world where I'm not going to think about pro wrestling. That's why I wake up. I love pro wrestling. I love this business, and I don't want to stop. But if I have to, it is what it is.
Have you spoken to Raja since the incident? I mean, we saw the phone call on the stream where he said,
Negative. That was my last conversation with him. I don't really care to talk to him about anything right now. I'm sure the time will come where we can all talk again and hash things out. But for right now, I'm pissed. Like I said, a lot of lives have been affected by this. In my career, it took a big hit over some bullshit. So,
did you know that Raja was a streamer?
I did. Yeah. I actually did a stream with him whenever I was at the gym days prior. Him and Rampage, we were doing one of their kick live streams where people troll you. They just talk shit the whole time. And I would talk shit back, but then I kind of got in the groove of it, like, okay, they're just poking fun. And I need to get used to this sort of thing anyway if I'm going to be in entertainment. Like, this stuff happens all the time. So, yeah, I actually enjoyed it. But in a way, I also regret it, because this whole thing started because of some live stream bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for all the time today. If people want to get a hold of you, are you still on social media? How can they find you?
I am. I've turned off my comments for obvious reasons.
We should all do that.
But yeah, you can find me AJ Mana 101 on Instagram. If you can't find me there or Facebook, it's going to be Andre Joel Hudson. I still have my shoot name on Facebook. So, but all platforms, AJ Mana 101.
Thank you for joining us, man. And
AJ, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate
been great meeting you, and hopefully something helped here. I hope, it's
yes, sir. No promises.
People don't want to listen. They don't want to listen. We can't make them listen, but your story's certainly out there now. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless y'all.
God bless you.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back after these words. John,
wait, let me ask you, Conrad, what'd you think? That's the first time you had heard AJ's story from AJ, and what'd you think?
Not good.
Not good what?
I feel like we're live on YouTube. We're gonna start recording these. I know that this came from a good place because you think a lot of Godfather. I do too, yep. And I know that he has a relationship with AJ. But man, if you're seeing the live comments on YouTube, nobody's buying AJ's story, and I feel bad. I feel like you were trying to help, and yep. I think we may have accidentally made it worse. Like Nate, the lawyer's with us, and he says AJ's the fall guy. Raja was told to hit for real. He went too far, but blame lies with whoever gave that order. Just a bad angle gone wrong. And later, Nate, the lawyer, said, AJ, you need a lawyer. Civil liability is very possible, and hopefully criminal is off the table. And he continued, if I was a cop and a prosecutor, AJ needs to shut up because he's not helping himself. His excuses do not legally help him. They hurt his case. And our comments, man, were overwhelmingly negative. I think a lot of people feel like he was trying to turn this into a promo, and I hate that because I know this came from a good place. I mean, you were trying to help find some sort of silver lining and be some sort of positive here. And I appreciate that, but I think it may have backfired a little bit, John.
Wait a minute though. Negative comments on Twitter. Really?
Maybe.
I mean, come on. I get this, but people, Conrad, it's kind of like anything. If you say something positive, people say, oh, you're stupid. You don't know any better. But if you say something negative, you sound smart, or at least in your mind you do. That's why when people talk about wrestling, they go, oh, that match wasn't any good. The match back in 1950 something was so much better. You sound smart. Anybody who says, man, I loved what went on, it's, oh, you're such a mark. It's just being negative on social media is almost just, it's contagious. They try to turn it into an art form, and they don't because they're idiots. I'm not calling our fans idiots, but okay, I am. If you think at any point in my life I care, you're wrong. Look, I think people just want to be negative. And I think AJ explained his story. They may not like the way they thought he was kind of wrestling promo. I don't think he is. I mean, Conrad, I don't know how in the world you can blame him for this. I really don't. If you do, please explain it to me. I mean, he said one thing in there and get a receipt. That's something we've said for decades. That doesn't green light assault. It never has. It never will.
A lot of blame to go around. I mean, first of all, there probably shouldn't be open alcohol containers backstage. We agree. There probably also shouldn't be someone with a camera there who everyone doesn't expect. We agree. But saying get a receipt, we don't really have a real understanding of how he was supposed to have known that before. And then AJ, even in the interview, said, hey, I thought we would just clean it up. But he acknowledged he was a streamer and he had been on the stream before. I mean, my bullshit meter was going off and I wanted to help, but I don't think he helped himself at all. And I think, sadly, that's probably the end of AJ in wrestling. I don't think that people will see this and say, man, I can't wait to hire that guy. I think the internet wrestling community, that he's looking for pats on the back. I mean, I feel like if anybody tries to book him now, they're going to come after him. And we shot ourselves in the foot in an effort to make things better a little bit. That's my read, but please poke holes in that.
Conrad, I disagree. And I disagree. I think, to me, I think you're basing all this on feedback, and I haven't seen the comments. I hardly ever read the comments. I hardly don't read the notes our own researchers send us anymore because they're so negative about me. And I think that just kind of goes with social media. His idea of, just because you stream before, maybe you know it's you don't know that you're streaming at this time, if it's going to be edited, whatever it is. I mean, if you're not used to it, maybe he didn't know the first time. I don't know. I don't think that's a smoking gun, my opinion. I'm not just trying to find ways to stick up for AJ here. It does come from a good friend and Godfather who told me the whole backstage story, and I respect the hell out of my dear friend Godfather. And I thought AJ's story made sense to me. I thought it had credibility. And I think he's getting canceled. I've seen guys get canceled. I've had people try to cancel me for the same thing of stuff that, I wasn't responsible for. I've done enough to get canceled. You don't have to find shit that I didn't do to cancel me. But I've seen what happens to people, and I've seen the fallout from it. And, here's a guy, that potentially loses his job over something like this in this wrestling business. And it's because somebody took all this wrong and clipped out one little portion and said, and blames him for this assault or attempted murder, whatever you want to call it. I just don't think that's fair. And, I hope I hope people got to hear his own story, make up their own mind, and I don't know if the feedback from comments, so many times when you look at feedback from comments and you get like 20 comments that are terrible, you think, oh my God, everybody's against it. Well, does that 20 really mean your whole 1 million people that are following you and all your platforms and stuff? But 20 people, not 20,000, 20. Does it mean that? Is there a way to extrapolate that? That means half your people. That means 500,000. We don't know that. Maybe it means 20 people. Maybe it means 5 people tweeting 4 times or posting 4 times. We don't know that. It seems overwhelming because it's on your phone and it's very personal. I'm just not sure it represents what everybody's thinking. I don't know that.
Well, to be clear, I haven't taken to Twitter to see what the comments were about the live feed. I was just seeing the YouTube comments from people who were watching us live here. We'll continue the conversation in the comments. We're going to highlight some of these comments next week here on the show. We do want to hear from you, and comments are continuing to pour in. Aerostream says it's not a matter of the receipt. It's more of why wasn't he there watching him ringside? I think we got to the answer with that.
Yeah, that's not, if you heard it and maybe Aerostream didn't, I thought he answered that very well. Look, I've been involved in a bunch of matches in my life, thousands of matches I've literally wrestled, and probably who knows more that I've seen or watched. And I've told people backstage stuff, what they should do in the ring or what they should not do. And I didn't watch all of them. There were things to do. Things are going on in a live show that he didn't for him not to be there at ringside, that makes zero difference to me.
The Aerostream says, so you were in the same match as Doug. How come Dub was able to get to the ring after the match and you didn't? Of course, we know that AJ did give an answer. He was outside the building. Yeah. That is logical that if you're outside the building, you wouldn't necessarily know what's happening inside the building. I don't think for a second, and again, I don't know AJ. I just met him for the first time like all of you guys did. But it's hard for me to imagine that anyone would know that was going on inside and then not do anything about it. So I am going to give AJ the benefit of the doubt on that.
Yeah, me too. I thought he answered it perfectly. And you got to understand the logistics of being at a wrestling event. Whether you're outside the building or not, if you're not watching what's going on in the ring, you have no idea what's going on. Sometimes you can pick up, if you've been there long enough, pick up what a match is doing or not. But you can't tell from the crowd reaction what's going on. And so if you're just not in view of the ring, you wouldn't have been there to make any type of intervention.
Brian Turner's VHS Rehab says, y'all tried to give him an out. No, what we did, Brian, is we gave him an opportunity to speak.
Yeah.
To pull back the curtain, John, I had a chance to speak with him over the weekend, and I thought that was interesting that we hadn't really heard from him. So we decided, hey, we'll extend the invitation. He was brave enough to hear and show up and to take the arrows. But I imagine more are coming. Nate, the lawyer, says a receipt is an assault. When you hit someone for real, it is an assault. Most people can report receipts, but they legally can. So he's saying it is crossing a line. I know that's always fuzzy with wrestling, but I've heard a lot of people talk about this. And I just want to clarify, at least from your perspective, John, a receipt is, if it was with malice, not necessarily, this guy just hits harder than other guys. We've always heard that some guys work snug or stiff or whatever you want to describe. But the idea that it's a receipt is meaning, hey, I think you put some oomph on that one on purpose, so here's one right back. Do I have that right?
Yeah, you have that right. That happens all the time. That's not, look, I don't know what the definition of assault is. That doesn't even come close to it, in my opinion. Look, no offense, but I've been, again, I hate to keep using this. I've been in thousands of matches, and I know when I'm getting a receipt due, because I know when I remember one time I hit Viscera so hard on the apron, I don't know how he stood up. I punched that man as hard as I could, and I didn't mean to. I turned around and went to throw a punch, and he was closer than what I thought. I hit that man right on the jaw. That man has a jaw like a dinosaur. It didn't budge him. And as soon as I hit him, I said, "Oh shit, I'm sorry. I'm getting that one back." And I did. He got me a receipt. And did he punch me? Yeah, he did. He punched me right in the face, and I knew his receipt, and we laughed about it. I remember one time I got Taker with something. I go, "Ooh, I'm getting that one back," and I did. It's part of the business. It's more part of what people say. People say, "Oh, receipts," or like you said, it's not knowing the inner workings of the business. You get a receipt. Most of the time, guys just laugh about it. Go, "Yeah, I knew I deserved that one. That was a receipt." Shit happens. We're grown men in a tough business, and those things happen. And for him to say a receipt, it's not a green light for assault.
No, I think we all agree with that. I mean, I don't think there's any chance that AJ or anybody expected that level.
So if AJ is not given the green light for assault, why is he being thrown on the bus so bad?
Because he's seen as being an instigator and bringing an outsider in. And then he's not really taking accountability on the stream here today. I mean, to say, he didn't know it was being streamed, and then later I knew he was a streamer and I'd been on before. I mean, I think what people wanted him to say is, "Hey guys, I fucked up. I should have talked to the promoter. I should have hashed everything out. We should have got a plan together, got everybody in the room, but I made assumptions and I got involved and I shouldn't have. And now somebody's really hurt." And I think people wanted to hear that he is friends with Stu and he's been there and he's going to support, and he's tried to make amends, but instead it felt a little bit like we were getting a wrestling promo. That's what the comments were saying. Like they're thinking that he's cutting a promo. And I get that's just the way he's been trained to speak. And maybe he just speaks that way now. But I think people were thinking, hey, we're not trying to see AJ Mana versus Doug Mallow. We want to figure out what the hell's going on with Stu and why did this happen with Raja?
Conrad, a couple things. One, the thing with Doug, I don't know Doug. I don't know anything about him, or I don't know fully what happened. I know when a guy bashes you on the internet, all of a sudden you get worked up on it. You want to go after the guy. I understand that completely. I try not to. I try to never, never answer any of it. When I was younger, I did, and he's younger, and it's natural for a young guy, full of vim and vigor, as they say, to fight back when somebody bashes you. I think that is normal for him to do. And people say, well, he shouldn't have gone after Doug. Wasn't that? Yeah, look, Doug went after him. I get it. They both got egos. Okay. You get an ego and it's somebody sitting there socking you on the internet. You want to take your chance to go back after him. And I think if he brings a guy to the dressing room, I brought guys in the dressing room before from different places. I just assume that, not a lot of times I'll check on because especially as I'm older, I'm one of the older guys around. But when I was younger, I didn't check on what happened. The promoter would take care of it. The booker would take care of it, and everything be done. I just assumed it was all be done. I figured that's what he did, is my opinion. Again, I'm not trying to come on here just to stick up for him, but I do think he's wrongly being canceled here.
Well, we'll keep abreast of the situation. I'm seeing lots of suggestions in the live chat. You guys should have Doug on. We'd be glad to have Doug on. If we can make a connection with Doug, he's welcome here on Something to Wrestle.
Hey, and by the way, again, this racist shit. I mean, does this not drive you nuts?
Yeah, it's a little much, dude. I mean,
he's getting called racist by white guys and by black guys.
Yeah,
I mean that's somewhere one side's got to be wrong if the other side's right. So, it's crazy to me because they're blaming him for different racism levels. One's blaming him for liking blacks, one's blaming him for not liking blacks. It's nuts. I mean, all this stuff of people coming on and just typing the word racist. I think that should almost be a libel issue. It's not, and I'm not saying that it is, but I mean that's something that's a stigma you put on people that doesn't leave, even when it's proven wrong. That's why I get upset about people calling Rampage Jackson or Mark Henry racist. Mark is not a racist. It makes me furious. You can disagree with him, you can say he's wrong, but don't throw that word around recklessly.
SaveWithConrad.com.
My name is Rajiv. I'm in Sacramento, California. I came to Save with Conrad because I've heard Conrad talk about how he helps people all the time save money and the best route to go for getting some mortgages and finances done. And having heard so many different testimonials in the past, it made the most sense to go this route. We were in the market for a new house and we wanted to know what we could afford. So we spoke with Steve and then Diane to get through the pre-approval process to see what we could afford. And then once we were able to understand that aspect of it, that was when we were able to shop around for a house to get a mortgage through Save with Conrad. Everybody on the team was great. Everybody really explained everything fully to where it was more in like layman's terms to where I could understand it as someone not in the business or having shopped around for houses too many times. So being able to understand every step of the process and talking with everyone on the team about that was really, really helpful. And it made me feel really confident that I was going the right route. I would definitely recommend Save with Conrad to others. I know that sometimes people look at it and they go, oh, they're based in Alabama. What could they help me with? But I'm out here in California and they were able to square everything away and get things done really quickly, as opposed to sometimes even people out here don't move as quickly as the Save with Conrad team. So everything was really well done, really efficient, and I would definitely recommend Save with Conrad to others. My name is Rajiv. I'm in Sacramento, California, and I was able to get into my dream home with SaveWithConrad.com.
That's number 212 non-equal housing lender. SaveWithConrad.com.